So, go ahead and talk about how you were diagnosed in your process, and what age. So, from start to now.
All right. So, what was it? When I was a sophomore in high school, that's actually when I figured it out. Um, Around then, I could talk about like taking them without the. Okay, cool. So, all my friends were like taking Adderall, just not like aggressively or anything like that, like the 5 milligram ones. And so I didn't know much about it or anything like that. I like to dabble in trying things. So that's when I took. I think I just bought them off like from people I knew who had Adderall, things like that, who had a prescription. So I ended up buying them for like $3 a pop, and I tried it out for a little while, and I liked it. So what I ended up doing is after I tried, I probably only had it like 5 or 8 times before I actually decided I want to go for a prescription because I regularly see a doctor anyways. So I've always been good about that when I was a kid. My mom always took me there pretty frequently. So the next time I went to the doctor, I told him that I think I might have ADHD. You know, I saw him in private, didn't have my mom with me or anything like that. And so when I went in there, getting it was relatively easy. It was like super easy. This is back in like 2005, 2006, right around that time. And so what they presented me was like just this pamphlet that was 10 or 15 questions. I couldn't remember. And basically asking like this, it would be one word or one string sentences that say, do you lose your keys often? Are you often forgetful? Do you lose track in the middle of a conversation when talking to somebody? Do you shake a lot? Like you have a shaky leg? Things like that. And they give like 6 box answer. It'd be like on a scale of 1 to 6, but the first 3 squares would just be white squares, and the last 3 squares would be like these yellow squares. So it was very clear after you read the question and look at the scale, you know, often to not often, that the ones that were in yellow clearly meant you had ADHD. Like it's like giving you the answer, like one of the three. So at first, I was reading it and then marking it correctly, and then realized like, why am I even bothering? Just mark all the yellow squares. So marked all the yellow squares. Doctor came in. He's this old man too, so he's like a easily 70-something-year-old man. He's like, yeah, you have ADHD, and I got prescribed. It was like the lowest dose, 5 milligram extended releases, right? And then, like, over a period of the next few months, every time I go in to see the doctor, because you get to see him monthly, they always check up on you to make sure everything, especially in the beginning, they make sure everything's okay. They ask you about your, like, heart rates and stuff like that. And I tell them, like, everything's all right, but I'm not really feeling it doing any, like, much. I'm not really seeing my schoolwork improve, things like that. And so, basically, I was getting him to increase my dosage, even though I wasn't really using it for school. So that wasn't really the intent at first. But, eventually, after like 6 months to 8 months, I ended up getting them to prescribe me about. I was just basically on 40 milligrams a day, so they gave me 20 milligram pills twice a day because I don't remember what I ended up saying, but eventually I got them to stop. I think I actually ended up saying that I switched. I traded with a friend and got a non-extended release for a standard Adderall pill, and told him like that worked for me, and it didn't, but that's what I wanted him to do. So I got him to switch it over. So it was really easy to like manipulate your doctor to get what you're looking for back then. And so that's how I got to my extended or non-extended releases standard Adderall pills, which actually worked great. So over the next few years, all through high school, I just used it, abused it, traded with friends, did things like whatever I did with it. And as I was using it, I started to notice I'm like these things are actually like making me feel decent, starting to feel actually pretty good. Especially when I didn't abuse them, when I didn't take like 4 or 5 in one day, things like that. So over time, because I had it readily available with me, I didn't feel the pressure to take it constantly like my friends wanted to. Like I didn't feel like I needed to abuse it because it became more of like a carrying a cell phone scenario with me. Like it's just another item I have on me. So what ended up happening is over time I actually started bringing down my doses. So by the time I graduated high school, I was probably instead of taking 2 a day like I was prescribed, because I would tell them like I'm prescribed it, so I take it. I probably got myself down to just taking 1 a day. But once I got out of high school and got into college, because I actually started doing better in school once I got on Adderall. I was probably on average a D student. Like, I graduated second of my class, but I was the bottom. Like, yeah, that's where I got my number. It's like 243 students. I was 242. So, but in that final year when I actually like stopped abusing it, I was actually doing really good at school. So I was like, somehow I managed to get into college. So once I started getting into college, I didn't abuse it nearly as much. I just would just take it, as I was comfortable with. So my grades actually did start to improve and stuff. I ended up pretty much taking 5 milligrams a day, even though I'm prescribed 40. So I take like 10% of my prescription. And like I started having mood improvements. I was doing better in school. I was actually talking to people and actually remembering what they were talking about. So I mean, things actually did get a lot better while I was on it. That's when I realized like I think I actually do have ADHD. Like I've always been super hyper, like wildly hyper in school. Never paid attention. I was like a big goof off. I didn't really do anything in class. Like I was notorious for being like disruptive. So everyone like knew me as being disruptive. But like no one, ever did anything about it. So small town, they didn't really. I spent a lot of time in school suspension. So what ended up happening is, after me, I realized I for sure have this, just from the sole fact that like a lot of things have been improved on it, and it's like going to a normal dosage really made things help out a lot. And then it was about this is 2009, 2010, when everything kind of got really strict with Adderall. When I went to college, I was always going to the same doctor, but then I switched doctors, and then that was like that was a lot of trouble. Once I switched to a new doctor, that's when they wanted me to like go see a psychiatrist, because they're too uncomfortable to, prescribing it out. I guess word on the street got out that people are fucking using it quite a bit. And so after switching doctors a couple times, every single one told me I need to see a psychiatrist. They won't prescribe it. I ended up saying fuck it. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, I'm not going to go see a psychiatrist just because of the fear that if I go to a psychiatrist, what other underlying problems are they going to be trying to diagnose me with? What's this going to do to my medical records? And just things like that. Like I didn't really want the stigma of being like, hey, you got bipolar disorder because like that runs in my family, or things like that. Like I just didn't want that. And I'm like, that's not what I'm there for. I'm not really having troubles with other mental diseases that I'm currently noticing. So why would I want to go put myself at risk like that? And another note to point out why, I have that fear of that is like, what was it? Like my older doctor when I was younger, he was asking me things like, do you use marijuana and things like that? And I told him like, yeah, I've smoked marijuana with my friends and whatnot. And I've seen my medical record since then. And like the first line in my medical record says is, Tim is a habitual drug abuser. And like, so I think that's another reason why going to a new doctor made it very difficult is, they put this fucking crazy stigma on the first thing. It's like, oh, I abused drugs because I tried marijuana while I was in high school. So that like made it really difficult to actually get it. So I spent the next 2 years not even taking Adderall whatsoever. Like, I couldn't get it prescribed. I'm not going to spend money on it because, I didn't feel the need to take it like that. So I felt the urge, like, oh, I'm going to go spend $50 of my paycheck to go get a bunch of Adderall so I can just take it, recreationally. It just wasn't a thing. So the next 2 years, that's when, like, I ended up dropping out of college because I just couldn't keep up in school. I ended up losing my job, so I ended up changing jobs to a different field.